Hi folks, Mark Merrill with Firm. The real truth of fraud, hate. Yeah, that's what it is. See this right here, folks? Mr. Faulkingham is not an oppressor. Do we kind of all understand that? He is not an oppressor. He's a hard-working, working-class man who served his state and also proud of his family and teaches them a lifetime of how to live life in the state of Maine. The same way he did as a very young man. In the meantime, here's the down and dirty tale, folks, and we're not holding anything back. We never do at Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media. Mark Merrill. How the Mills administration, the Maine Democrats, and the internal divisions of government agencies combined over a period of 8 years and possibly longer for all we friggin' know. Damn it. Tried to destroy, defame, and steal not only Maine Care and rural health care funds, but also acquire and then use diversion and deceit tactics to deposit those monies to the Somali locals. And what did the Somalis do with it? Guess what? They didn't leave it in the United States in Maine. No! They put up storefronts like Gateway Community Health and Somali Community Health in Portland. First one, Gateway in Lewiston. Yeah, right. And send the money overseas to terrorist Somali rebels in Jubaland, we understand, to start an uprising there and take over the Somali government on the west coast of Africa. Check that. East. But I digress. So, any questions about that one, Maine citizens? You ought to have a lot. After you hear these revelations coming up here by House GOP leader Billy Bob Faulkingham right here, of course, and information gathered by Maine Wire editor Steve Robinson and his views, and from state GOP Senate leader Trey Stewart of R-Aroostook County, you might want to demand a cleansing Democratic political party once and for all time after this, folks. I'm not kidding. So here is the beginning, folks, of a string of audio, starting with Billy Bob Faulkingham when he was talking to the Maine Wire recently.
I just want to reiterate that this doesn't happen without the approval at the highest levels of government. You don't get a rogue Department of Labor investigator going after the third-ranking Republican in the state of Maine without it rising to the very top of the department. So this was okayed by the administration. This was okayed by the Janet Mills administration to go through on me, totally ignoring the horrifying consequences this could have, like I said, not only on Maine's lobster industry, but on every heritage industry in the state of Maine. That if you can pervert these statutes, that you can pervert these things and twist them and take standards that are for other labor sectors and apply them to agriculture and fishing in this way, to say that someone's violating child labor laws. They threaten to destroy every heritage industry in our state. And that's one thing the Democrats are good at, is ruining everything. So it's a fact. These people have got to go. They have got to go. This is evil. It has been hard to deal with these people. But when they come after someone's life like this, and I'm not the only person they've done. They do this to people that resist them. They do this to people that are effective. They do it to people that are resonating with the public a message that they don't want. I can't even believe I'm here right now. I am here just because I am a normal Maine person. I am a lobster man. I went to 1 year of community college for plumbing, but I represent the Maine people. I'm married to a woman. I have 3 kids who I love. We have a happy family, and we live life the way people want to live it. We're not rich, we're not poor, we're in the middle, we're living the American dream, and they want to ruin that, and they want to ship all 3 of my kids out of this state because they want to make it so unaffordable that they can't live here and turn this place into a national park for a bunch of retired liberals, and I won't have it. They picked the wrong guy. I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees, and I will fight with everything I've got to stop them.
Well, thank you for your time, Billy Bob. And, it's good to know that these Democrats are on the lookout for, young men learning how to catch lobsters while there's so much Medicaid fraud happening in the state. Real money is being lost, stolen from Mainers who can't afford to live and can't afford their own health care now. And that's all facilitated by the Democrats. I hope this all works out for you. I hope that kid's back in your boat, and I hope that we can get past this, and this is a winning issue for you. Maine House Minority Leader Billy Bob Faulkingham, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you.
Just the tip of the iceberg, folks. We have more information that we've gotten, although on a limited basis, from the Maine Department of Labor Communications Director, one Jessica Picard. We'll get to that later in another episode, folks. But as you see here, folks, Mr. Faulkingham is not an oppressor. Never has been. Okay? Well, speaking of has-beens, that would be Janet Mills, wouldn't it? Just want to keep things in perspective, folks. Actually, as just shown to you, there's a couple of has-beens. Lawbreakers. Constitution destructors. Socialists. Communists! I'll say it. I don't care. It's the truth. Now, I have a segment here, folks, before we move on to our next audio with Steve Robinson of the Maine Wire, who recently spoke out about this about a week or so ago. However, you can also catch him on themainewire.com and also the Robinson Report. So that's themainewire.com anytime, 24 hours. But also, he updates the Robinson Report, I believe, at least every few days. So you can see here, folks, the Maine Republicans demanded change, meaning the Democrat Party altogether, as we previously mentioned in our introduction, folks, because of the 2025 state audit. What happened? Well, the Maine legislature Republicans, as you can see here, it's a smaller picture, we understand, but Billy Bob Faulkingham leading the way there at a press briefing just a few weeks ago. The Republicans spoke in Augusta in response to the 2025 state audit that was released in the month of March. They called many of the findings a failure of Maine's government, needless to say. They also pointed to issues including payments going to dead people. Oh, it gets better, folks. Problems across 10 of 13 state programs, including Medicaid and SNAP, among others, food stamps. Republican leaders say 8 years of total Democratic control, as we said, in Augusta is to blame, and they suggested it could take the federal investigation to address it. They also criticized both the governor, the legislature, saying state leaders aren't taking the issue seriously or holding agencies accountable. Quote, as you just heard a little, as mentioned, with more to come from Senator Trey Stewart. But here he said it's apparently going to take the federal government coming in and maybe handcuffing folks. That's what I want to see. Gee, do you think maybe a gunpoint would be a good idea? I keep wanting to invoke the Second Amendment, but maybe I got to hold back a little bit. What do you think? Anyway, he says it's apparent that it may take the federal government coming in and maybe handcuffing folks before anybody gets their act together in state government. And he says he doesn't know what it's going to take for them to move off this position of it's fine to waste your taxpayer money, is what he's referring to, folks. It's fine, apparently, to Janet Mills to spend it inappropriately. It's fine to send it literally to foreign countries without any kind of accountability or transparency where these funds are going. As we just said, it's going to the Somalis, and they're sending it overseas so they can beef up a rebellion over there and turn Somalia into a terrorist country and come over here and beat us up. Really? You think Donald Trump's had his hands busy enough trying to calm down Iran at the time that we're broadcasting and posting this podcast, folks? They finally sat down to the table and decided to say, okay, let's cease fire. 2 weeks, according to moderators from Pakistan, between the two parties. We'll see. WABI TV even reached out to the governor's office on a response to this, but have not heard back. Why is that surprising? Sharks. So as we move on here, folks, on Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media, Mark Merrill here, as we're looking at the Democrats. They're worse than deflectocrats now, folks. They're robbers. The real truth of fraud is hate, in our title today. And next up to hear some views and comments from Maine Wire's editor-in-chief. Here we go. Steve Robinson with his views as to what the hell's going on. The diversion of money that goes to rural people. What was the original intention of Susan Collins' appropriations to get to people who have no health care.
Pleasure. Making $100,000 a year in taxpayer money to carry out the jackbooted thuggery of the Rainbow Mafia. I mean, this is, Janet might have signed off on this, but this is Jeremy Kennedy, her chief of staff, who is, cohabitating with Matt Moonen, the majority leader in the House. This is pure Democrat leadership, Rainbow Mafia, Thug 101. That's exactly what this is. And they'll come for each one of us. They'll come for anybody who sticks their head up, anyone who complains. So it's a two-pronged war. It's a war on traditional Maine work ethic, the traditional New England Protestant work ethic, kids getting involved in working and learning, skills, the kind of kids that Jeremy and Matt will never have. They'll never have to teach a kid how to work on a lobster boat. And it's a war on political dissent. And all of it is repugnant. And every single Democrat lawmaker, every government employee, state employee who sits silent while something like this happens, shame on you. Shame on you. You'll go stand on some overpass with a Ukraine sign or put your hate has no home sign in your front yard, but you can't stand it. You want to talk about fascism? You want to talk about government tyranny? This is what it looks like when the leadership of the minority party has the full weight of the government coming down to try and crush him with tens of thousands of dollars of fines. This is exactly what it looks like. And a responsible society, a serious society wouldn't tolerate this kind of thing. And Bart wouldn't be allowed, to show his face in public for fear of people hissing at him and screaming, shame, shame, like in Lord of the Rings, or what is it? Not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Indeed. I have one more segment coming up with some actual comments from Senator Trey Stewart in just a moment, folks, as we get close to completing our program. The real truth of fraud? Hate. You just heard it from Steve Robinson. So, folks, last on the hit list. Completely deserved and intended, of course. We, the people of Firm, present a segment, as we said, from WVOM Radio, where State GOP Senate Leader Trey Stewart explains the dirty, diabolical, and specific acts that the Mills administration concocted. That's right. To wipe out $190 million appropriated by Senator Collins to help rural Mainers with health care assistance. But Ms. Mills just snatched it away. How's that? Well, here's his take on that, folks.
Whatsoever. We look back to December of last year, late December last year. Senator Collins announces $190 million for Maine rural hospitals and providers through Rural Health Transformation Program. Again, Senator Collins working in D.C., getting the gavel on appropriations and securing money that could go somewhere else. But we need it in Maine, especially for rural hospitals. How am I doing so far, Senator?
No, that's exactly right. And then this provision here was a part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that really, it was $50 billion that was solely procured because of Susan Collins for rural health care, not just in the state of Maine, but around the entire country. She gets it. She understands, because she comes from rural Maine, right? She's a county girl, just like I'm from R-Aroostook. She's from the town next door over in Caribou. Understands how critical this infrastructure, these hospitals are to the people that live there. Hundreds of thousands of Maine people rely on them, and so that's why it was included in the bill. And it was actually held up as, like, even if you don't agree with, reducing taxes on tips or overtime, which is a totally different issue we could get into, but everybody agreed that that was important. And yet, it was all put at risk.
And, well, let me go. One day later after the senator confirms we got this $190 million and already people are applying for it, one day later comes the statement from Governor Mills, who's running for US Senate. Quote, "This award through the Rural Health Transformation Program is a testament to the strength of Maine's application and the numerous partners who contributed their ideas and insights into a compelling proposal for strengthening health care in Maine's rural communities. Maine will use this funding for new investments in rural health care, providers, workers, and technologies to improve the health of all people across our state." It didn't take a rocket surgeon or a brain scientist to see that Mills was trying to take credit for what Susan Collins had done.
Work that goes into that. And then since then, and I think where you're going with this, Rick, is since then, what happened? And the answer is nothing.
Did someone just forget to click send on the application? Did someone not fill it out properly? Because we get the news release on March 27th that reminds us that Maine is in line to get this money. And then you finally, and I'm glad you did this, not you finally, but finally someone stepped up and said the quiet part out loud. I'll toss it to you this way. Did Mills fumble Maine's application for the Rural Health Transformation Program?
Yeah, without question. Many milestones that needed to be occurring from the time in which this program was announced up to date had been missed. And what that means is that our state, our Department of Health and Human Services, which is led by the chief executive, in this case Janet Mills, wasn't doing what they needed to do in order to just access the $190 million. They hadn't done anything. And so as a result of that, thankfully, our senator has a great relationship with the federal department, and specifically with Dr. Oz, who reached out and said, hey, you've got a problem here back home. Your state is not doing anything that it should be doing in order to make sure that these funds that you procured are able to go to the people who it was intended to help.
So there's that from Trey Stewart, folks. Senate GOP Minority Leader from Aroostook County. Hope you stay in touch, folks, with your lawmakers. Your House representatives, your state senators. Make sure things get done or get changed in 2026. Thank you for joining us, as always, on Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media. Mark Merrill here, as always. Let us know what you think on a regular basis. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Look for our car around Central Maine. All Central Maine towns, communities, Skowhegan area, moving into Bangor slowly, and also at the State House in Augusta and around Augusta and communities as well. Stay safe, everyone. Peace to all.